Now, the government has brought back plans dropped in 2019 to make pornography websites carry out age checks on its users. Users will have to provide data such as their credit card or passport details to verify they are over 18 in order to access explicit content.
Don't know if I'll be giving it my credit card details or passport number to any of these companies, but free and commercial porn sites will be brought into the scope of the forthcoming online safety bill. So sites such as OnlyFans will be included in that as well. Digital Minister Chris Philp said that parents deserve peace of mind that their children are protected online from seeing things no child should see.
Yes, well, Mary Sharp is a lawyer and CEO for the Reward Foundation, which is an education charity focusing on internet pornography's impact on sexual relationships. We really appreciate you coming to discuss this morning. I just want to start off by asking, because I think the arguments against kids watching porn are pretty obvious, I think, to most people. You know, I don't think most people advocate giving children unfettered access to porn. But there are legitimate criticisms, aren't there, around people's safety when it comes to giving those personal information to these giants, quite frankly, these porn giants.
I think that is a bit of a red herring, because there is excellent, really sophisticated age verification processes now available that act for people trying to access gambling sites or other age verification processes. And it's done at arm's length. It's done by a third party. So this fear that there's going to be a database breach is really unrealistic.
Legislation, as far as I understand it, applies to websites that are almost exclusively pornographic. Whereas the arguments in favour of this legislation are about children not stumbling across pornography. And there's quite a lot of pornography on websites like Twitter, for example. How does this actually help children not stumble across it? Because children who are stumbling across pornography won't be going to porn websites, they'll be finding it on other websites, and this will have nothing to do with it, will it not?
Well, it will, because the online safety bill covers social media as well. That was the whole point of the government withdrawing the Digital Economy Act Part 3 when it was just about to implement this Part 3 to do with age verification of commercial pornography websites. They said that it didn't cover Twitter, online, other online platforms, and therefore that they needed this bill. So it's the fact that there's so much pornography around, but the truth is that children get a taster of pornography on social media, and then they watch most of it on sites like Pornhub. And in a recent survey that was done in Poland, but is representative of what's happening across the world, particularly the Western world, 25% of 7 to 12-year-olds were watching pornography, and we're talking hardcore pornography, on at least a monthly basis. So it's not just about stumbling across it. They're curious about it, and they want to be doing edgy things and watching something that's so stimulating, and therefore they're seeking out pornography websites. Yeah. So unless there's proper age verification in place, then it's going to be too easy for children to stumble across it.
And the levels of children who are accessing a porn, as you say, those figures there, what's that an indictment of? Is that an indictment of the society we live in more broadly? Is it an indictment of, the children's parents or the schooling system? I mean, what is leading to such huge numbers of children watching that? Or simply is it just the fact that they have so much access to the internet in this day and age?
I think it's largely the fact that governments have been so slow to try and catch up with technology, which is driven by money. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the porn companies are often leading the technology changes. And governments are so lumbering in trying to develop this. That's why it was heartbreaking that the UK government shelved the Part 3 of the Digital Economy Act back in 2019, because, of course, nobody had anticipated COVID, and had that legislation been in place, and it could still be in place without waiting for another 2 years for the online safety bill to come into effect, it would have meant that a lot of children would have been protected from easy access to pornography when they were off school during lockdown.
Are we at
So
risk of denying reality here a little bit? I mean, I grew up at a time when mobile internet was becoming more prevalent, where at school certainly people spoke about watching pornography, and at a certain age it is legitimate that people under the age of 18 might want to watch pornography, is it not? We're allowed to have sex at 16. Why aren't we allowed to watch it?
because it's one thing being able to consent to sex at 16, and that's done in private between consenting people. And it shouldn't be encouraged, should I say, at 16. But yes, of course, it's widely practiced. But as far as pornography is concerned, the fact that through technological means, images can be shared. And there's already legislation about revenge porn. But, adolescents need protection from themselves to some extent, but also from others who just think it's a jolly jape. The bad news is that if children are caught sexting, particularly if there's coercive sexting, if that's reported to the police, that can go on their record. And even if it's just not taken through the courts, it's recorded and can affect jobs at a future stage.
Is the worry here that we're potentially pursuing a harm elimination strategy, a sort of don't do it at all strategy, whereas harm reduction might be a preferred path?
This is harm reduction.
So, for example, we don't want to be encouraging 16-year-olds to have sex, but that is the age of consent because we know that they will have sex, and so having some boundaries there is probably important. Saying that no one under the age of 18 should have or watch sex is probably going to create a more anarchic society.
Nobody's pretending that kids, as soon as they hit puberty, and puberty is starting earlier these days, from about 10 or 11, kids are, naturally curious about sex. They're programmed by millions of years of evolution to be curious about sex. So, of course, they're going to seek it out. The point is we need to educate parents and kids themselves about the harms of pornography. Now, hardcore pornography is not the same as sex. Sex is natural. But this manufactured violent pornography is distorting their brains to the extent that they're not interested in real sex or can't enjoy real sex. Now, that's heartbreaking. That is sex negative. That's not sex positive. So we can't ban porn, and nobody's trying to ban porn. We're just saying that we need to prevent children, particularly young children, from stumbling across pornography at an age where their brains are very vulnerable to mental health disorders, to depression, to social anxiety, and body image.
Yeah, Mary, thank you so much, Mary Sharp, for talking to us about this really important issue. Thank you.